Hello and welcome back to No Bullshit. Today we turn to talking about the mayor of Minneapolis. That city has been on fire for a couple days. It's finally starting to smolder and die down. They sent the state police in about 3 days too late though, and that's because the leadership there is awful. They're led by Democrats like today's subject. His name is Jacob Fry, and I'm just going to go ahead and jump right into this picture of him because I want you to see what we're working with. This is Jacob Fry. These are his socks. They have Hillary Clinton on them, and I think that says about all we need to know about the guy. In addition, I'm not sure what else is going on, if this is his wife or something, but he certainly looks like a beta soy boy, so this is fitting. This makes sense. It fits the whole narrative. It's like, whoa, this guy is like Justin Trudeau Jr. He runs Minneapolis, which isn't that far from Canada, by the way. So, yeah, this guy is kind of the one that was in charge of Minneapolis and ruined this whole response. He couldn't take it. He's not a good leader. He's a terrible Democrat who has time and time again shown that he's a very biased person, and he probably didn't want to send cops in because those looters and rioters were minorities and they were just scared to arrest anyone. And since the incident involved that a racism kind of factor, I don't know if the racism was ever proven yet. I haven't seen any proof, but since that was the case, they couldn't go and send them out. And it just fell into this whole trap where like liberals basically have this system where they can't give black people blame. They can't take accountability and hold it to minorities. It makes them racist. They can't arrest them even if they commit crimes. They let them come in illegally from other countries, all kinds of stuff. So they've kind of dug themselves this hole. They have dug themselves their own grave and shot themselves in the foot. And it's happened and kind of peaked in this Minneapolis story that's also spread across the country. Other left-wing cities have had similar issues, and it all comes down to bad leadership, bad influences, bad ideas getting spread around, the race baiting. There's lots of race baiting in the media, and it's all kind of culminated in this terrible incident in the city. And as we can look at this guy, it's not too surprising to hear he's this kind of Hillary Clinton supporter, a far leftist, a very beta, Trudeau-like, Trudeau-esque. And that's the main premise for today. Next, we're going to talk about a story about how he gets into this interview talking about what happened. I mean, it was just a bad issue, and I want to know more about it. So this is an interview with the mayor. It's an exclusive from CBS in Minnesota. They say, Mayor Jacob Fry discusses what led to the abandonment of 3rd Precinct. So they basically all but admitted that they just let things go to chaos there. They didn't even try to stop all this nonsense, these crimes, looting, destruction of property, fires. People have been killed too, by the way. People have died, gotten hurt, shot, injured. I mean, these riots are far worse than anything that's happened on the right-wing side. I mean, we don't have riots. We don't destroy property. We don't have these kinds of bad incidents, except for a few that the media kind of misrepresents and misinterprets. Like, for example, there was that one event. It starts with a C. It happened in Virginia, and it was the one that they always try to hold against us. It was that right-wing rally that turned into chaos, and eventually it led to one person dying. That's super tragic, and no one's defending that. But the problem is the Minnesota and the Minneapolis issue getting that kind of criticism? Like, are we going to be referencing Minneapolis 3 years later to call leftists a racist and offensive? I mean, I might bring it up, but I don't think the press is taking it the same way. And we're going to see that reflected in this interview. This interview kind of is more softball than it should be. If I was working or living in Minnesota, I would have a lot of questions for the mayor of Minneapolis, and I would not be super kind to him. I mean, as a reporter, you do try to be fair, but I'm not sure this is going to go the way we're expecting. So with that said, let's read into this. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Fry has broken his silence about what ultimately led up to the Minneapolis Police Department's withdrawal from the 3rd Precinct building in South Minneapolis Thursday, which was then overrun by the massed crowds protesting the death of George Floyd. That building was then heavily damaged in flames. WCCO asked him the following questions, and then we get to the questions. When was the decision made that the police would vacate the 3rd Precinct? Chief Arredondo and I made the decision early yesterday afternoon to significantly reduce our footprint at the 3rd District. We also decided early that the option to vacate the 3rd Precinct needed to be on the table as a way to both help de-escalate and prevent hand-to-hand combat. Did I know with certainty it would need to happen? No, But at roughly 9:25 p.m., when it became clear we needed to divert resources from the 3rd to help provide a response to activity downtown, I made the decision. I notified the chief, then the governor, and shortly after. So to me, this seems very cowardly, and it shows how their methodology is. They're not protecting their police headquarters. They're just abandoning it. And they're not confident and strong enough to, go after these rioters and looters head on. They're not arresting them. They're just trying to, what they call de-escalate, which is basically just turning the other way. They're letting it happen. They're not stopping them. They're kind of afraid for those reasons I said earlier. Like I was saying, they're not really apt to arrest these kinds of minorities anymore. They're getting barking orders from the top saying, don't arrest black people, don't arrest anyone, just let them go, it'll die off. But really, it's just gotten worse over the days. Like, it keeps going and going. It's spread to other cities, and obviously they had a poor plan. And I think if it was me, I would have defended that precinct. I would have had cops outside, SWAT teams. I would be arresting everyone. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people. I'm not sure how overworked or stretched the police force is, but I mean, this is their base. This is their home. And they're just going to abandon it because they want to de-escalate? I wouldn't go that route. What was the plan for maintaining order in that neighborhood? In hindsight, it appears as if the city was content with letting it get overrun, which WCCO sources shared with his officers felt that was the directive. That could not be farther from the truth, but I'm not sure I'm buying that either. It definitely looked overrun to me. On Wednesday, after people began looting Target, Chief A called me to tell me we needed support from the Minnesota Guard. I called the governor seconds after that call to officially ask him to provide that support. The next day, early morning, a commander and deputy chief reached out to the department. They maintained close contact throughout the day. To implement an effective anti-looting plan across 11 commercial corridors would have been a massive undertaking. The Guard told us they'd be able to provide roughly 100 to 200 members with an additional 84 state patrol officers. We knew that would be good enough to help with fire support, but not other pressing needs. For the support they did provide, we are grateful, and even more so to see them offering additional support now. We are a police force totaling roughly 800, with far, far less than that on active duty at a given time. Simply by the numbers, we were going to be overwhelmed. It's a matter of math, not planning. Our resources were beyond tapped. We had around 30 to 50 priority 1 calls that weren't being responded to at any given moment. On top of what was happening, we were overwhelmed. Every available officer was out. So I buy it. I mean, I'm sure they had a trouble getting people and getting help. I'm still doubting that they didn't just kind of let it go. Like, it didn't look like there was a lot of cop presence in any of the videos I saw. Not until much later. Like, the first time I saw it was that CNN guy getting arrested like a couple days into it. And that's when we actually saw the state officers kind of lining up and stopping things. But I'm really doubting that they couldn't get help. There could have been other towns cops coming in. They could have got federal support. I'm not saying necessarily we want to go into full-on martial law, but that's what that actually is for. If you don't have enough cops, if you don't have enough people in your state, you call in the federal government, get some military guys in there, and just post them up. I'm not saying we have to kill all these rioters. We're not trying to take them all out, but you just get more police presence. You just get them on the corners, get them out there, ask for help. But that clearly wasn't happening. We can tell that they let things go. We can tell that they lost control, didn't respond quick enough, and just these number ideas. I understand, like, I can get it, like, this is the details, but it's just not giving you the full picture and the context. And as we saw before, we also know that this is the mayor. I mean, does this guy look like a real confident, like, justice kind of guy? He doesn't look like he's interested in being serious or taking things out. Like, he's just gonna walk away, look the other way, let it happen, just basically kind of kowtow, like, let the minorities and the Antifa and all these people just take over because he's too scared to take a stand. What was your directive to the police department about use of force, stopping rioters, allowing takeovers of buildings like the 3rd Precinct and others? We are a police force totaling over 800, far, far less than on active duty. Simply by the numbers, we were going to be overwhelmed. It's a matter of math, not planning. I thought I just read this. Did he say the same thing twice? Our resources are beyond tapped. We had around 30 to 50 priority 1 calls. Did he just say this? Am I losing my mind? He's like repeating himself. Okay, I don't know why that would happen so much. I think it might have been a written interview, or maybe he was talking and just repeating himself. I don't think he's really addressing this question. Like they want to know about the use of force and how they're going to stop it, but he's just talking about the numbers again. Here it says sanctity of life and something like that. But I think the point is the mayor is avoiding mentioning how they were going to address the rioters because he doesn't want to admit, oh, I told him not to arrest people. Oh, I told him, not to touch any of the people. I'm sure there were some very, very strict rules that made the cops basically ineffective. And this guy is just dodging that question because he doesn't want to admit that. And he's just talking about the numbers again. And we're just going in circles, really. This next question, do you still have confidence in Chief Arredondo? Should voters still have confidence in you? He has built up trust in the community over his decades of service. His leadership has never been needed more. My time working with Chief A has shaped me not just as an elected official, but as a leader. He doesn't really address himself. I think this is the reporter attempting at least to kind of go at them and say, hey, you guys, are you going to resign? Like, shouldn't you just let us have the city back? Like, you've ruined it. You guys need to move on. We need the city back. This is a mess. Let's move along. So at least the reporter tried, I guess. And I think the mayor just showed that how weak and ineffective he was. He's impotent. He is beta. He's soy-filled. He supports Hillary Clinton. I mean, do you guys need to hear more? That guy is the worst. And this is why one of our great American cities has fallen down. That about wraps things up. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Make sure you hit that like button and also comment your thoughts and everything below. Until next time, you guys have a good one. Let me just take a quick moment to talk to you about my second channel. I recently relaunched and revamped No Bullshit 2, and it's now called NoBS News. I'm going to be doing new videos on there almost every day on weekdays, and then weekends we're going to be doing more live streams. So make sure you guys check out that second channel. There's already like say 10 or 12 more videos on there for you to check out right now. So if you want more content, search NoBS News on YouTube or click the link below this video.